Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today Dirty Harry HR, in the Soviet Tier 10 heavy cruiser, the Petropavlovsk, is going to be playing an all Tier 10 domination battle here on the Shards map. Now, before we get into the battle, and the whole issue of the Petropavlovsk itself, because that's an entirely different conversation, let's just take a quick look at what passes for Tier 10 matchmaking in World of Warships these days. 5 battleships per team, almost all of which are armed with, at the very least, 18-inch guns, some of them higher. Those 2 poor Montanas at the top of the team list must be sitting there thinking, hang on a minute, I thought 16-inch guns were supposed to be good, what's going on? Not a single light cruiser, and only 3 cruisers per team, all of which are either heavy or super cruisers, and then the matchmakers rounded off both teams with 4 destroyers, although technically the Elbing on the enemy team is the only light cruiser in the battle. So, good news, no carriers. Even better news, no submarines, but that is still extremely rough matchmaking for a cruiser. But Dirty Harry is in the Petropavlovsk, and the Petropavlovsk is no ordinary cruiser. Surprisingly, this is not a premium ship. This is a regular tech tree cruiser. In fact, it was the replacement for the Moskva, which became a premium ship once the Petropavlovsk was introduced into the tech tree. Now, I'm sure we've all seen those screenshots of clan battle and ranked battle matchmaking, where both teams consist of 1 battleship, a whole bunch of Petropavlovsks and a destroyer. Right? In fact, it was screenshots like that which are the reason why the Petro was either banned outright from certain competitive game modes, or teams were limited to no more than 1 of these ships per team. Why is that then, Jingles? Well, it's kind of a strong ship. You know, when Wargaming introduce a new ship, they like to present the good points and the bad points about the ship. The bad point about, and I'm not making this up, okay? Right. The weakness of the Petropavlovsk was its average reload. Since when is having the same reload as everybody else considered to be a weakness? It's armed with 220mm guns that only have a 14-second reload. I mean, I'm just saying, the Atago is armed with 203mm guns, and it has a longer reload. All of the turrets can rotate at full 360 degrees, which means it takes almost no time at all for all 3 turrets to swap from a target on the port side to a target on the starboard side. The guns have a firing range of 18.4 kilometers. The armor-piercing shells have the best penetration of any non-premium ships in the game, while at the same time having the absurdly good improved ricochet angles and short armor-piercing fuses as the premium Stalingrad. The shell velocity is basically best in class, with 995 meters per second for both the armor-piercing and the high explosive shells. And that shell velocity, coupled with a sigma rating of 2.65, remember, the higher the better. Battleships, by the way. Battleships are doing well if they have a sigma rating of 1.8 or higher. Yeah, the Yamato is considered the most accurate battleship in the game, and it has a sigma rating of 2.0. Okay. The absurd accuracy and the ridiculously fast muzzle velocity of these shells means that you have to work extremely hard to miss whatever you're shooting at in the Petropavlovsk. And of course, the improved auto bounce angles on the armor-piercing shells and the short fuses mean that you tend to hurt what you hit because you rarely over-penetrate, and you tend to penetrate even when the target is angled. So the guns are basically god tier. What about the ship's defences? Oh boy. So, icebreaker bow and a very thickly armoured midsection mean that this cruiser is better at tanking battleship shells than battleships. She sits extremely low in the water, making her very hard to actually hit at range, because remember, sigma rating is how far your shells deviate up and down, not left and right. So if the target sits extremely low in the water, like the Petropavlovsk, there's an excellent chance that most of the shots that you fire at it are either going to drop short or go long. A target that sits higher in the water, like pretty much everything in the game that isn't a Petropavlovsk, is going to catch more of those shells. And of course the Petropavlovsk does not have the same problem, because it has 2.65 Sigma. And on the rare occasions when you can actually hit this ship, penetrate, and cause damage, she has the second largest hit point pool amongst all of the tier 10 cruisers in the game, beaten only by HMS Goliath. But that's okay, because she's balanced by only having an average reload. Oh, did we mention that she has exceptionally strong AA as well, and access to the defensive fire consumable? Yeah. Oh, and radar. Oh wait, it doesn't have hydro. There we go, there's another weakness. A ship that has radar is weak because it doesn't have hydro as well. Seriously, if you look at the Reddit threads about this ship, some of them are absolutely hilarious. I mean, there are some real comedians on Reddit. There's one thread in particular on Reddit which is just comedy gold. It's called the Petropavlovsk issue and possible solutions, where some brave fool, because he actually still cares, proposed possible ways of balancing this ship, and the replies are utter genius. We received your feedback and nerfed the radar duration of Petropavlovsk from 15 seconds to 14.5 seconds. Due to reduced radar, making it more difficult to deal with destroyers, we are slightly buffing high explosive damage by 50%. As a result of increased difficulties in starting fires due to the high likelihood that high explosive shells will destroy a target, we have had to temporarily increase the fire chance to 85% with an additional 5% per game for every shell which misses the primary target. The total fire chance is capped at 150% before modifiers. To discourage mirroring, Petropavlovsk now has 175% fire resistance. Yeah, because as we just saw, Petropavlovsk has problems dealing with destroyers, doesn't it? Now, to be completely fair here, yes. That is what Petropavlovsk guns. This is a cruiser, remember? That is what Petropavlovsk guns do to battleships at medium and short range. However, to be completely fair here, Dirty Harry has taken a shit ton of damage, and what you are going to see in this video is more a result of the enemy team being complete and utter donkeys, rather than this ship being spectacularly overpowered, okay? Yes. Having said that, strap yourselves in, sit back, relax, and enjoy the carnage, because he's only just getting started. I should still point out, by the way, that his team are losing. They've managed to lose 75... Yes, I know, Akazuki. Yeah, I know. Extreme cruelty to destroyers. For a team of donkeys, they're managing to do a pretty good job. They've got 2 of the caps. They've nailed 75% of Dirty Harry's destroyers. And the Yamato. So, you know, team of donkeys, it's a relative term. Now, you just saw what the Petropavlovsk can do to, well, pretty much anything if it catches it broadside at medium range. So naturally, everybody on the enemy team is being very careful in attempting to ensure that they don't suffer that same fate. Yeah, what were the chances of that happening again? And he does have that thickly armoured midship section and the icebreaker bow. He's angled pretty nicely. He's only really vulnerable at this kind of angle to high explosive spam through the superstructure. Or torpedoes, of course. But, well, the torpedo threat over here has been completely neutralised. He killed the Harugumo. The friendly Montana finished off the Yoshino. So all he has to worry about now are 18 or 20-inch guns. But they're only a threat if they're pointing at you. And the Shikishiba's guns are not pointing at him in the 4 Citadels. Oh, he's pointing at him now. But hey, guess what? Icebreaker bow, extremely heavily armoured midsection. I'm not entirely sure what that Shikishima thought he was going to accomplish by doing this. If it was to die pointlessly and gloriously, well, congratulations. He achieved his wish. So there's still a Thunderer back there, isn't there? Yes, there he is. Another battleship armed with 18-inch guns. It's not clear whether or not the Thunderer knows that Dirty Harry is here. I mean, he should. Dirty Harry has just farmed 200,000 damage off the rest of that Thunderer's teammates. Which way is he going? Oh, he's heading away. Oh, that's good news, because the Thunderer does have extremely big guns, but if he's heading away, you can only fire 3 of them. Now, the health pool difference between these two ships is something that most people might consider a bit of a problem, because the Thunderer has more than twice Dirty Harry's health. And Dirty Harry is just in a cruiser. And that's a battleship armed with 18-inch guns. So, taking all of that into consideration, does anybody feel like putting any bets on who's going to win this fight? Okay, that first salvo was kind of sloppy. Straight into the Thunderer's armoured belt. However, this shot straight into the completely square stern of the Thunderer. Yep, that was a Citadel from the rear. On a battleship from a cruiser. Can't do that very often though, because remember, the only official weakness of the Petropavlovsk is its average reload. Oh, there it is again. And the high caliber award with 230,000 damage done. And yes, the team is still losing. Oh, and there it is again. Do you think the Thunder is getting desperate? I kind of think he is. What makes you say that, Jingles? Well, he's a tier 10 battleship armed with 18-inch guns, fighting a cruiser that started this engagement with half of his health. And he's getting so desperate to do damage, he's switched to high explosive shells. I think it's a testament to just how strong this ship is. Well, there are two things. First, the Schmaland over there is actually a bigger threat than the battleship armed with 18-inch guns 3.5 kilometers away. Let's not forget, the Thunderer is considered an overpowered ship, because it is an overpowered ship. And he is eating that Thunderer alive. And it's the Schmaland that's doing the most damage to him. Also, if you have a look at what the rest of his team are up to, they've basically left him to it. What's that? A Petro going after one of the most overpowered ships in the game? It's fine. The Petro's got this. And yes, the Petro does have this. The annoying fire from the Schmaland should... he can still lob shells over the island. He's going to have to get closer in. The Thunderer is never going to get away, of course, because, you know, the Petro can do 33 knots. The Thunderer is not a slow battleship, but it's not fast enough. He keeps losing that rear turret, doesn't he? It's not helping. And there's another Citadel. Yes, you are witnessing a cruiser inflicting multiple Citadels on a tier 10 battleship from the rear. Oh, wow. Thunderer switched back to AP, took out one of the Petros turrets. But it was the rear turret. How did it hit the rear turret? He managed to take out the one turret that Dirty Harry isn't actually shooting him with. How did... I don't know. It's not going to make any difference, of course, because the result of that engagement, 277,000 damage done, by the way, was decided the instant Dirty Harry got involved. The Thunderer stood absolutely no chance. Meanwhile, the team are still managing to lose. They don't even have one cap to their name now, thanks to that little Swedish bastard. They say that the Petropavlovsk is weak against destroyers. Personally, I don't see it. Nearly 1,000 meters per second muzzle velocity means that you just don't have to give as much lead when you're shooting at a destroyer as you would in, well, just about anything that isn't the tier 6 premium Italian Duca d'Aosta with its 1,000 meter per second muzzle velocity. So yeah, the Schmaland was like, yeah, I'm going to take your cap. Boom. Actually, no, on second thoughts, you can keep it. Although, he does appear to be quite upset. He's shooting back. And guess what? Dirty Harry doesn't have any heals left and he's on fire. Not want to use that damage control. There it goes. Oh, could this be the end? It rather might be. I think the Schmaland might get him. Can he get one more salvo off at the Nevsky? Yep. A mere 286, no, he hit the Nevsky. 291,000 damage done with 30 Citadels. I'm not making this up, right? It's right there, look. 30 Citadels. Admittedly, most of that was down to the extreme stupidity of most of those enemy battleships, who just gave him flat broadsides to shoot at ridiculously close ranges. Although, that didn't help the Thunderer, did it? Who wasn't giving him flat broadsides, and still ate Citadel chunks right through his big fat British arse. And the team are still losing! And the Smaland is now retaking the cap. The team are all just allergic to those cap circles, aren't they? It's like they're afraid if they go in there, they're going to catch some kind of horribly infectious flesh-eating disease. Probably start on their faces or something. Can you imagine what it must feel like to lose after pulling off a performance like... Well, actually, if you're a World of Warships player, you probably don't have to imagine it, do you? You probably know exactly how it feels to lose after pulling off a performance like this. Fortunately, if there's one thing that you can always rely on while playing World of Warships in random battles, and it's not so much your team's ability to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, it's the enemy team's ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, because despite having all three of the caps and being 200 points ahead, the enemy team just couldn't resist trying to win that little bit harder. Even when outnumbered, with most of their surviving ships on perilously low health, they just kept attacking. Despite the fact that they had the points, they had the stealthier ships, they had the faster ships, they didn't need to get involved in any fights that they didn't want to get involved in, but they just wanted to get involved in fights. It's the same old story over and over and over. And so this battle was in fact a win for Dirty Harry's team, although if we're being completely fair here, I do have to say that that was won mostly through luck rather than judgment. Although, well, that does work both ways. You could just as easily say that the enemy team lost that battle through judgment. Extraordinarily poor judgment. Rather than any actual luck. So, anyway, yeah, that was a battle that actually happened for Dirty Harry HR in the Petropavlovsk. Hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.